Guys, we are in the midst of some crazy PR games right now coming from Blake Lively's side. So I became aware a couple of weeks ago that somebody in Blake Lively's camp was shopping around what they claimed to be HR complaints to various tabloids and publications, namely TMZ, Daily Mail, and the New York Post, sending them these HR complaints saying these were real and these were ignored, all painting Justin Baldoni to be a monster, okay? Interestingly enough, all of these publications, which are known to just like publish whatever, they publish things about me that are completely untrue, they don't care about defamation or anything like that, all declined to publish this. Main reasons being that these complaints coming in were heavily redacted, and yet when they reached out to the person that was shopping them and was like, hey, like we have some basic questions about this, like why are you blacking out the dates? Why are you blacking out the complainants? They got a little iffy on the details, and they didn't want to take the risk for potentially being sued for defamation without being able to legitimately confirm that these were real complaints. Now, if you're a PR agent and you are desperately trying to get out these complaints for your clients, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, to help change the environment of everybody who's calling them out on their BS, what do you do next? You can't get any of the big guys to publish it. So you start leaking to TikTokers, independent journalists, because you view these people to be stupid, right? So you're like, okay, they'll absorb the risk. They'll definitely publish this if they think that they have an exclusive. And essentially that's what's happened. They started shopping this around to independent journalists. And I'm now going to show you the complaints that they've been shopping around.
So guys, what we have here is the same situation where nobody is on their side because everyone is seeing what Justin Baldoni is putting on his website. They're seeing all of these claims being basically debunked by Justin Baldoni's information that he had shared. So just like how her bestie Taylor Swift is not on her side, and you know Taylor Swift is feminist, stand up for woman, yada yada yada. I said it a million times. The same way that these companies, these newspaper companies, they don't want to take it on, because look what happened to New York Times. They published the information and they realized that the information was not correct, right? Because Justin Baldoni came out and debunked it and filed defamation and lawsuit against them, and now they're all wrapped up in this case. So all these other places like the Daily Wire and so on and so forth, they don't want to be a part of it. They don't want to be the next company that is going to be a part of this lawsuit. They don't want to be the next company that is going to be in saying that they're having defamation against Mr. Baldoni. No, it's funny because based on what was said and based on information provided, they would have been asking questions about these claims that were shared and asking why some of those information were classified. They were blocked out. They were not, you could not see the date, and certain names, they were blocked out. They wanted to know more because for them, they did not want to do what the New York Times did, which was to show a narrative that is not necessarily the entire truth, because they want to put out a narrative that support one side and not the other. But it's not even about supporting one side or the other. It's about showing the complete truth of the matter or of the information that is being reported on, and they don't want to be a part of any misinformation and catching a lawsuit. So basically, what one of the claims that they want these newspaper these magazines basically to publish is a claim where the claimant is saying that Mr. Baldoni would have touched her inappropriately on her butt area, right? During a scene, he would have been fixing her posture and would have touched her inappropriately on her butt, and she was like, hey, wait, I'm not comfortable with this. And she would have said to him that she's not comfortable, and he was like, hey, don't worry, I'm still hot for my wife, implying that he is not touching her to touch her, say basically he's just touching her to fix her because he's still very much in love with his wife, right? And the claimant, whose name was not shown in the document, by the way, was like, yeah, it doesn't matter, I'm going to report this to HR. And that seemed to have been done. And Mr. Baldoni, about 3 hours later, came back to the claimant and was like, I'm sorry. Mind you, he was fixing the posture during a scene, and he touched her butt, which I can understand one can be uncomfortable with, right? Now the claimant said that she was going to take it up with Sony because, you know, It Ends With Us is with Sony Studios. All of this claim was put forward to places like Daily Wire, TMZ, and they were like, we have a few questions. The questions apparently were not answered, and they were like, yeah, we're not post this. We're not risking it and talking about this. We're not risking it because all of these claims are being debunked, and you're pushing a narrative that can be easily debunked. And so we're going to just give it to independent journalists and let them carry the information, because I mean, if you're an independent journalist, you are happy for any information that comes your way that is like the breaking point of your career and so on. Now the second claim that they wanted TMZ and other places to broadcast is one in regards to Mr. Baldoni's addiction. Now Blake Lively, complainant, and director, assistant, and Mr. Baldoni, as well as a driver, was in a car, and he would have told her that he was struggling with the big P addiction, right? And also that he would have had intimate interaction with women even when they didn't want to. So right. So she would have said that that was very uncomfortable for her. Now, in the same complaint, she mentioned being on set in one of those intimate scenes, and she would have told Mr. Baldoni to turn off the monitors because she was partially naked and her butt area was basically naked. And to her surprise, he turned them back on, and her partially naked body was being basically broadcast on all the monitors and all the synced phone for the crew members, and she felt uncomfortable. Now, this is also one of the claims that was rejected by these journalists. So TMZ did not want to be a part of it. Daily Wire did not want to be a part of it either. What Candace is trying to get across is that they would have mentioned that this action would have been taken up with Sony, because remember, It Ends With Us is being done with Sony Studios or whatever. So you're thinking, if Sony was allowing this to happen, remember, such lady went to Sony and threatened them that she was going to go public with being SA'd on their set, right? If she did not get privileges such as editing, the final cut, so on and so forth. If she didn't get certain privileges, she was going to go public and basically try to destroy Sony's reputation. Now, in the same breath, during all these complaints, it is the same Sony, right, that is said that these complaints were taken up to. However, Sony is not sued. Sony is not mentioned as being a part of the lawsuit in terms of being sued, because of course if you look at it, it would be that allegedly they would have had these complaints and did nothing about it. But here's what Candace had to say.
Here's the initial CRD complaint as published by the New York Times. You've got Wayfarer, you have Jamie Heath, you've got Justin Baldoni, Steve Sarowitz even, Jennifer Abel, Jed Wallace down in Texas, but nope, no Sony, which is so weird. And here is her actual federal lawsuit where she conveniently dropped off Jed altogether, but they've got the agency group, Melissa Nathan, Jamie Heath, Steve Sarowitz, It Ends With Us Movie LLC, Wayfarer Studios, and once again, no Sony. So what does this tell us? Well, first and foremost, that they still believe the public is stupid, that moms on the internet are stupid, that we don't understand these legal games and these PR games. And we keep proving that to be wrong time and time again. But let's just keep going with this strategy, Blake's PR team. They don't think we can see that it's utterly unreasonable to suggest that Sony ignored. You said, Sony, on May 29th, all of us just got raped. We all got raped. And we filed this with Sony, and Sony just didn't do anything about it. But we decided not to sue Sony. We decided to instead go after Justin Baldoni in a CRD complaint and then later a lawsuit. But we decided to leave Sony out of it conveniently, even though they would have been the ones that were holding all of these complaints. And nobody wants to publish it. So we're now turning to independent journalists and making them think that they have a scoop. Yeah, something stinks to the high heaven here. And I think we're going to see more tomorrow, obviously, when she is due to file her amendment.
What is being said in this new update is that Sony would have or should have been a part of it if these complaints would have went to them. But like I said, remember, she went to Sony and she made an agreement with them allegedly that, you know, if they gave her certain privileges over the movie It Ends With Us, she would not go public about being harassed on the set, right? Because Sony Studios would face it. And obviously she got privileges over the movie, so I'm assuming maybe the reason why Sony is not involved in the lawsuit is because she's keeping up her end of the bargain, because they gave her privileges to do so. And what Candace is saying is that there is no way that Sony could have allowed this to still happen if she actually went to them allegedly with these complaints, but we will see.